and welcome to Shredded Cels, episode 23. I am your host, Alex Schmitz, and with me here today is Gretchen Snyder.
Hey.
Jeremy Jerbear Zajac.
Hello.
Clara Heimberger.
Hey.
And returning for the first time in a while, Marc the Shark Goldsmith.
Hey, guys.
Yes, and for those of you who are listening to us for the first time, we here at Shredded Cels are a part of Tech Eds, which is part of AVW Productions, a media production organization here at Ohio University. We do all sorts of good stuff, podcasts, blog stuff, videos, all sorts of fun video game related, movie related stuff. But today, we are here to talk about anime, specifically the film Summer Wars, a 2009 film done by Studio Madhouse. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about the animation we've watched since we were last here. Marc, since it's been a while for you, I guess it will be basically any animation you've watched since the break. So you'll have a lot to think about.
Yeah.
As for myself, what have I been watching? Just before I came here, as I was telling Jeremy earlier, I watched the Band Geeks episode of SpongeBob, since I bought that off of iTunes. It's only $1, so pretty good deal. It is. I'm not sure I agree with you that it's the best episode. It's definitely one of the best, but I'm thinking about there's the campfire episode.
That one's my favorite.
And the imagination episode. There's so many good episodes. It's hard to single out one as the best.
Yeah, the box is just hilarious.
The box, yeah.
You boys purchased an 80-inch TV just so you could play in the box. Pretty great, right? I didn't think it would work.
Well, I was just thinking about this, actually. I can think of 3 episodes off the top of my head where it's basically the same concept. SpongeBob gets something mundane, does something amazing with it, and Squidward gets jealous. And that's the plot of the whole episode. There's the Imagination Box episode. There's the one where he's doing all the crazy stuff with the bubbles. And then there's the one where he's got the little piece of paper and he's using it to do all sorts of incredible things. It's basically the same plot, just with different, items. But it was still, all of them are really good episodes. They're some of my favorites. What else have I been watching?
I saw something on Tumblr. It's the older you get, the more you can identify with Squidward. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. Although Squidward still is a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a nice neighbor. But I would not want to have SpongeBob as my neighbor either, because he's annoying as hell.
He lives in a pineapple. What could be wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
He lives in fruit. Is that healthy?
I was also watching... after watching the Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya movie I mentioned a couple weeks ago on the podcast, I went on YouTube and was rewatching some of the other episodes of Haruhi. I'd seen the first season, but I'd never seen the second, and I sort of got to get to the part that's known as the Endless Eight. I don't know. Do you guys know what that is?
No.
I've heard of it. Isn't it just the 8 episodes are literally just the same episodes, the same day played over again, but slightly different? I don't remember.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty infamous because the whole plot is that Haruhi, who's this basically God, even though she doesn't know that she's God, but basically if she gets bored, the world will end and she can create all this random stuff, amazing stuff to happen just subconsciously almost. And so there's this bit where they relive the last 2 weeks of summer over and over and over and over again 11,000 times because Haruhi doesn't want it to end and they're just having so much fun. And so the first episode is just sort of the default, and the second episode, Kion, the main character, realizes what's going on. And then from episode 3 to episode 7, it's not a repeat of the exact same episode. The animation is different. They're going to the same locations and doing similar things, but exactly what happens changes, and they use different angles, and they draw it differently. So it's not they're being cheap with the animation or anything, but it is painful to sit through. Personally, what I did was I watched the first 2. I watched the third one just to sort of get at least one episode where it's just it's the exact same thing over again. And then I watched the last one, which is pretty much the same, except at the end, Kion finds a way to break the cycle.
Isn't that kind of cheating?
Yes, it's cheating, but I don't... That's the thing. I think 4 episodes is good enough. It's not as painful, as watching through 4 more episodes of the same thing. I know what they're trying to go for, because it fits with the story, sort of getting you in the head of these characters, repeating the same thing over and over, how that must feel. but I don't want to put myself through that torture.
Is Keanu the only one who realizes that they're repeating the same days?
No, they all realize it eventually.
Oh, okay.
So is the movie like completely separate than the show? Because I don't really know anything about the movie.
It's sort of well, apparently the whole Haruhi series is based off of some light novels or a manga. I'm not exactly sure which. So there's a whole bunch of stories that they haven't animated yet, and one of them was this disappearance story, and they turned it into a movie instead of doing 8 TV episodes on it or whatever. And it's basically it's chronologically the latest thing to come out as far as the anime is concerned, like within the timeline of the series. And it is interesting because it unlike the Cowboy Bebop movie, like you can watch that and not have any prior knowledge about the series and still enjoy it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, this one you definitely want to have seen at least some of the series beforehand, so you know some of the characters, because there's certain plot points and things that come up again. But it's a really good movie. I've rewatched the whole thing twice at this point, and I've just rewatched the climax probably 10 times. Just because the climax is really well done. It gave me goosebumps the first time I watched it. It's actually one of my favorite anime movies. Mm-hmm. Even though, I like Haruhi as far as the series, but it's more of a fun show. It's not super dramatic, but the movie actually goes into some really interesting places with the drama and the characters.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, and and also while I was on iTunes, I found a short little preview. It wasn't a full episode. It was 7 minutes of footage from the show. Jeremy, you've been watching it on Toonami. Something Titan. What's it called? Symbionic Titan. That was it.
Wasn't that canceled?
Yeah. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, it was canceled a little while
I know.
ago.
It didn't look great from what I saw of it, but it was decent. It was all right. I don't know. What did you think of the show?
I really enjoyed it. I wish they hadn't canceled it.
Aww.
But Cartoon Network is run by sociopaths nowadays that only see dollar signs.
Right. Well, that seems to be the sad fate of most, if you look at, the stuff you used to watch as a kid, like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, most of them have moved to live action shows, with their teenage, superstars instead of animated shows. The only ones real big that I can think of off the top of my head are Phineas and Ferb, Adventure Time. There's some animated shows like that on Cartoon Network, and there's Legend of Korra for Nickelodeon, and that's pretty much it. And then there are the DC shows
coming out soon,
like Young Justice and stuff, which are pretty good.
So excited for Korra.
Wait, when's the new one?
I'm not looking forward to
Sometime
the
in
second
February?
season of Korra.
Huh?
I think it's sometime in February.
Awesome.
Don't
I thought it was
quote me on
April.
that. Don't quote me on that, but February just sticks in my head.
I hope so.
Last I checked, there's nothing official on it, but apparently one of the voice actors said something about April, in a tweet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
is
I remember
that
hearing April.
all I know is that the guy who voices Bolin hints that he gets a girlfriend, and that makes me happy.
Oh, really?
I really hope that's the case. Fine.
It better
so
be
too.
better than Korra, 'cause she doesn't deserve him.
I don't know. Yeah.
I was about to say something mean.
Man, I'm surprised how anti-Korra you've become, because you... I mean, when you...
I'm not anti-Korra so much as I was just really disappointed with the ending.
But I mean, we talked about this on the last episode a little bit, but when we originally did the podcast, when we came back after that break, or actually that was at the beginning of this semester, because the last few episodes of Korra happened over the summer. We talked about the ending in the last few episodes, and everyone seemed pretty positive on it, even though the ending definitely had flaws.
That's a nice way of putting it. No, I just felt like it wasn't well written at the ending. They just kind of, everyone, all of the good people have to have happy endings, and all of the bad people have to die horribly. No, and not to mention that this was only going to be...
We don't talk about that anymore.
Not to mention this was only supposed to have one season originally, so I don't think that would have been a very good way to end it. It would have just left a foul taste in my mouth.
It did feel rushed, for sure. The fact that... spoilers for Korra. The fact that she goes through her entire, I lost, 3 of the elements that I can bend, and I feel depressed, and within the course of 10 minutes, she loses it and then gets it back through Deus Ex Machina avatar powers.
I thought that was so bad.
Well, I like that we got to see Aang, when she's there and you see the feet, I'm like, that's not Tenzin, that's not Tenzin. I got so excited.
That was cool.
The thing that I like most is I actually did like the death of the villain, though, because, oh my gosh, I wasn't used to like death in Avatar just because like yeah, people died in the original Avatar series, but it wasn't as like
You didn't
there in
see
your
it.
face.
Like everything was
And-
a flashback.
And when he put the hand over the gasoline tank, I was like,
Tears.
oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then it happened, I was like, oh, I didn't think
Never
that.
thought. Never
Yeah,
thought I'd
no.
have Tarlock feels.
No, I love that. I love that part of it too. And I would say with the second season, now that they know that they have 4 seasons confirmed in total. So now that they know that they have like future stuff to build on, I certainly hope that the writers can like build, like a larger series-wide character arc rather than focusing on a particular season. So maybe season 2 ends on like a giant cliffhanger, like book 2 of the original Avatar did.
I want Bolin and Mako's backstory.
Yeah,
I want to
Yeah.
understand what
Yeah,
their
that'd be
parents
awesome.
look like.
yeah.
Looked like.
I think we'll get that eventually. Anyways, so I went on for a while there, but I will move on to Gretchen.
I've been watching so many documentaries for school that I don't know if I've really watched much lately. But I did get into Ratchet and Clank.
Oh yeah, well, were you were there when we played it at Eric's, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm on Tools
for
of
One?
Destruction, though.
Oh, okay.
So not that one, but
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't really played them, but they seem like fun games. Just sort of get the cool guns and blast things to pieces.
yeah, it's the first time I played a Ratchet and Clank, but it's really like fast-paced, action-y, and I really like it. It's fun.
Nice. Jeremy?
Honestly, I really haven't been watching anything. I've been really busy this past week.
I was hoping that you would have maybe finished Madoka, so you could actually get to those good old entropy bits we talked about on the podcast last week.
Same with me. I haven't finished that either.
I mean, Jeremy's watched a little One Piece because of me.
Oh yeah.
Because every now and then I'll watch it on my TV and he'll just like,
Mark, what
okay,
episode
so-
was that? That's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
what happened?
When Sanji kicks the wall.
Oh my god! It was
I
a
saw gifs out of that.
it was a movie special. It was like
The episode of Nami?
no, it was like Luffy's big backstory thing while they were on Hand Island.
Hand Island?
Yeah, it's its own
it's
like a
a
movie
filler
special.
thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a movie special. Like it's only like an hour. It's like an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Okay. Was it good?
Yeah, it was actually really good. One of my favorite things is that they're just in this hallway, and like how most of the Marines are just like normal people.
Right.
Well, when they come up across these like super powered people, they just like, oh, charge! I can kill them, and then they get like knocked off, and I'm like, okay, well, what were you expecting? Like you're just a normal human, and then there's this guy who can like punch through steel or something. You know what I
Right.
mean? So they come across this one guy, and he's like afraid, like holding his rifle. He's like, oh my god, you're Straw Hat Luffy. What am I gonna do? And I'm like, all right, this guy has the right reaction. Like this is the one Marine who has common sense. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to tell you anything. And Sanji's like, Luffy's been really stupid today. I'm kind of pissed off. So you better tell us what we want to know. And then he just, like, within, like, half a second, the animation was so fast. It's just, like, him standing there. He kicks the wall and then just goes back in his normal stance. And then, like, the wall suddenly just, like, has this giant impact. And the guy just freaks out and he's like, oh my god, here's all the information you want. Like, don't hurt me. But it's just
Sanji being badass again. I like
it's
it.
the nonchalant way. He just kicks the wall and it collapses, and the guy's like,
He does the
Oh,
whole
God.
tongue and eyeballs thing too.
Nice. Well, what was it? Over the summer, I was rereading like early One Piece, and I got to like Alabasta and stuff. And I'd forgotten how cool it was. Like when Sanji is, I forget the name. He had like a fake name.
Mr. Prince.
Yeah, Mr. Prince. When he's like, sort of being this clever, deceiver, and like he even outwits, Crocodile is one of the smartest villains in the series. I like that element of Sanji that we haven't really seen in a while.
yeah. There's a little bit of that in Thriller Bark. I was rewatching Thriller Bark.
Oh, yeah?
He goes back up. He's the one who puts the chains on Oz, if you remember that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So obviously, I've been watching more One Piece. I just kind of went back and watched some old arcs while I'm catching up. Well, not catching up. While I'm waiting for the
new
new
ones.
episodes to come out. And I guess the only other thing I've been really watching is a regular show whenever it's on. I mean, it's not an anime, but it's a cartoon, and
Right.
I that's one of the ones I enjoy.
Oh, what did you watch anything interesting over break?
Over break, not really. I mean, mainly One Piece, and I can't really think of any like I didn't really watch much anime over break.
Interesting. Now, and they're getting into Punk Hazard in the anime now, aren't they?
And Punk Hazard's really, really cool because not only is like the stuff that happens is pretty cool, but mainly like the action is kind of okay in that one. But what's really, really even better is all the different plot points that come in.
Right.
Because a whole bunch of like new villains kind of come up, and then old like people from the past, like for example, Smoker and Toshigi come in.
Right.
And like the Marines kind of interact with the Straw Hats in like an ally kind of way.
Right. It's interesting to see that.
Yeah.
And what about you, Clara?
Like Gretchen, I've been watching documentaries out the wazoo.
So many.
I hate them. It's like, oh, watch these 3 documentaries you have a day. Cool, thanks.
They're like an hour long.
Yeah.
I
hate
had
them.
I had an intro to documentary class last year for film school, and some of them would be really boring, but there were a few that I actually really liked. My 2 favorite documentaries that I watched both of them last year. One's called The Thin Blue Line. And it's like it's used as a recreation, so it like recreates this murder scene, and it like this scene itself, like how they shoot it and everything changes as the story changes. So you like hear, oh, this, in this version of the story, there was a pop can here, and in this version of the story, the pop can wasn't there. And it just changes based on the current information you're being fed, and it's actually really well done. And then my second favorite is King of Kong. King of Kong is just so entertaining. I love it.
And my
We
friend
started-
Ethan. Oh, go ahead, Gretchen.
Oh, we started on video game documentaries though, and
Yeah.
that's a
really?
lot more interesting
Yeah, it's
than
a
what
lot
we've
more
been doing.
interesting.
Yeah,
We
I
talked
could
about
bet.
Psychonauts today, and I got really excited.
Nice. I have Psychonauts, but I haven't started playing
need to
it.
play Psychonauts.
I've heard it's
Wait,
great.
Did you like talk about Psychonauts in class?
It was like in the documentary.
Oh, in
and
documentary,
I got really
okay.
happy.
Yeah.
And my friend Ethan's been catching up on Naruto, so every time he's around, I'm watching that over his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And he's at the part right now where Sasuke just killed Itachi, which shouldn't even be a spoiler anymore. But
Yeah, that was years ago
it
at
was
this
like
point.
years ago in the manga. I mean, like.
Well, even in the
bald-
anime, it was years ago.
Well, yeah, he's catching up because he doesn't know what's going on right now. So he
Right.
watched like everything since episode 1, and he's just been
Wow.
watching them.
Yeah, that's gonna take a while. Naruto's almost
Yeah.
as long as One Piece.
Yeah, I've been reading it, and it's getting pretty intense.
Are you post time skip at this point?
Oh yeah, it's like so far ahead of the anime.
Oh, well, so are you current with the manga then?
Oh yeah, I'm completely up to date with the manga.
Okay. So am I. But I would agree,
Sasuke's being a little
say what you
baby.
will about Naruto and Bleach, they're my lesser favorites amongst the 3 big shonen shows, and they have their faults. But since both the mangas of those are now getting near their ending,
Yeah,
or at least
somewhere closer than it was before.
let me put it this way. Bleach actually says final arc, 1,000-year war thing. So he's pretty apparent that this is the final arc, and I certainly hope it's the final arc for Naruto because
I
it
feel
feels like it certainly.
I feel like after they do what they're doing now, which I won't spoil because it's actually really complex about what's happening at the moment. I feel like after they finish up with all this, there's got to be another Naruto Sasuke fight. There just has to be one of those.
There's no
And
question that's going to happen.
someone's gonna die, and it's not gonna be Naruto.
Well, based on what he said last time they fought, he said,
Yeah.
The next
We're
time we
both gonna
fight, we're
die.
both going to die.
So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I don't know.
Because-
I will
That'd be
say,
kinda dumb.
I will give Kishimoto a whole lot of narrative cred if he actually kills off Naruto permanently in a legitimately story way. Not sort of the way where he he dies in his fight against Sasuke and is somehow resurrected by Deus Ex Machina jutsu. I don't want that.
But I'm just
Isn't
really
that all
happy.
of Naruto though?
No. It depends, but most of the time it's explained.
I'm in love with Kishimoto right now because my ships are canon.
That's all you care about is the ships, huh?
I've been shipping Naruhina since episode 1, and they're holding hands, and I'm so happy.
Wait, that's a thing.
Yes. And I'm so happy.
You didn't know? I mean,
Is it really funny that like that alone makes me want to like start watching through? 'Cause,
You should watch and read because it's making me happy. Well, they're not holding hands right now, but they're kicking some butt. But they were holding
they're
hands.
not holding hands at this
They
moment.
were holding hands for like 4 pages, and it was really beautiful. And on the side it says, "Never letting go of that hand." And it just, my ship sailed in the horizon that night. I was so happy.
Ship sails.
Oh my God.
I feel like people who don't understand what ships and canon are just think we're all like pirates or something.
Well, I'll give you permission to do shipping with like characters in the shows who actually like have, you know, relationships
Well,
or
that's what crack
heavily
ships
hinted.
are for. That's what crack ships are for.
I hate it when people like pair people that obviously aren't.
Like Kakashi Sakura.
What?
I hate that show so much.
The one that comes to mind for me is in One Piece, Sanji and Zoro.
Yep, you talked about that one before.
They like.
Well, see, you can see that because they quarrel. That's
Like,
their root.
I understand that, but like just because you quarrel doesn't mean you like the person. And also, Sanji is like so against that orientation.
Yeah,
That-
it's all about women.
Sanji
yeah.
is so straight.
Like,
Yeah.
no, like literally. One thing I will criticize One Piece for. I love One Piece to death, but literally so far every gay person that we've come across in One Piece is ridiculous. Like they
That's
either
true.
look ridiculous or they have a ridiculous personality, and I'm like, why can't
Sassy gay friend?
If you're gonna have a gay person, couldn't it also just be like
No.
a normal person? No. Yeah.
Apparently not. But
They've all got to be big gay
fair,
Al on the inside.
To be fair, though, like he, you know, he's still, even though they're kind of weird, he still makes them awesome. Like Bon Clay, you know,
Bon
is
Clay
like,
is forever one of my favorite characters.
exactly,
But, like,
he's awesome.
Do you remember when Sanji got sent to like
Oh, of course I do.
Okama Island?
Mm.
Okay, it was literally an island of gay people, and they all just looked.
Well, it's not
Ridiculous.
Why
not-
isn't that a thing in real life?
That sounds
Well,
awesome.
it wasn't just gay though. They're also like cross dressers and stuff. So
Okay.
it's a different
actually,
level.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Why
it's
isn't that a thing in real life?
I'm sorry. They weren't just gay. It was like a level beyond that. But like, still, I'm just like, you know, couldn't some of the people that live on that island just be normal?
normal
No.
people?
Okay.
It's not
I'm
possible.
sorry for. Okay.
There's no normalness allowed in One Piece.
That's actually true. So.
Pretty much. All right, so since we got through the animation we've watched since last time, now we'll get into the meat of our discussion for this week, which will be the show, not the show, the movie Summer Wars. Once again, it was released in 2009 in Japan by Madhouse. The director of it is a guy named Mamoru Hosoda. He actually has an interesting resume of things he's worked on. I looked up. He directed an episode of Digimon and One Piece. And he also directed the first 2 parts of the Digimon movie, like the original one that came out. That was a sort of amalgamation of 3 sort of short films into one. And we'll talk more about the second one as we go. This may interest you, Mark. He also directed the 6th One Piece film.
Yeah.
And he directed, I haven't seen this, but I've heard it's good. There was a 2006 film called The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. He directed that.
I've heard of
And
that.
in 2012, apparently, he directed this film called Wolf Children. So that's his sort of directing background. But what's interesting about that is the Digimon movie that I referenced, the second part is called Our War Game. And if you've ever seen it before, you'll notice that its plot is eerily similar to Summer Wars, because it basically involves a evil Digimon, you know, that is born on the web and like starts taking over, you know, the internet and making all these weird things happen, and they have to go into the internet to stop him. And the end, he's defeated because a whole bunch of kids throughout the world who are like supporting the Digi-Destined send emails like crazy, and it slows down the enemy enough for, you know, them to kill him before like this bomb explodes and the world is destroyed and all this stuff.
I got 4 minutes to save the world.
Pretty much. So it's very similar in plot to Summer Wars, and apparently some people have criticized Hosoda for basically copy and pasting, you know, elements of the plot from his earlier movie into this one. But at the same time, I think this one does it differently enough, you know, and adds in a whole like family element, you know, that's extremely important to the film that was not present at all in the Digimon
Right.
movie.
I feel like it's saying like how dare they make a second Romeo and Juliet because the first one will be awesome, but how dare Leonardo DiCaprio do that? It's just, I never understand why people get mad at something for being, like, I get if it's like the same exact thing, but if they're doing it in a completely different way, that I just,
well, there's this whole philosophy that basically, like, every story has already been told,
right.
or like,
there are like
or
six. What's it?
Like 6 original stories, or some people say like, you know, the only original story was like the Odyssey, you know, and like basically everyone else has just been sort of taking elements, you know, from other things and just retelling the same story in different ways. And I think that can work. You know, like Star Wars, for example, near and dear to my heart, is basically just classic mythology redone in a sci-fi world. But even though it is a retelling of basically those same archetypes and that same sort of story, because of how he changes it and casts it in this different genre and makes it a bit more modern, you know, for the 70s, it works beautifully and it feels super original, you know? So it doesn't have to be like some completely unique idea that no one's ever thought of in the history of mankind.
Because those don't exist anymore.
It's that, I wouldn't say that they don't exist, because there are still ideas.
They're rare.
They're rare, but there are times like when I watch a movie and it's like, you know, why didn't I think of that? You know, like, this is the best example, but like Inception.
I was
you know,
just
like
thinking Inception.
Dream Within a Dream. Like, it's just, it's a great high concept kind of movie. So, anyways, that's a bit separate from Summer Wars, but I mean, it's still a good film discussion.
On the topic of Summer Wars, I love the family aspect. That's one of my favorite things. Is like how it brings in all the different, like, there are some characters in the family who aren't even close to being main characters that I'm like, hey, I really identify with you and I really like hearing from that character, like, you know what I mean? I thought the mom who was watching her son throughout the whole movie was hilarious because, like, for half the movie she doesn't even know like anything, like the world's about to end. She's just sitting there like watching her son as if like if her son were to lose, that would be the end of the world.
Well, I think it's supposed to be there almost as like a parallel, you know, because like as it's getting down to like the last inning, you know, and it's the moment of truth, you know, in the baseball game, the same thing's going on in the actual
movie. The bottom
movie.
of the 15th inning.
Yeah. Well, I remember we were watching it and someone's like, you know, it's really funny, but I don't understand why this baseball scene is here. And I'm like, well, it's because it's kind of a what you just said. It's like a parallel. But then, like, oh gosh, just so many of the characters, like the one uncle who would always get mad.
What's his name, Kenji, for like liking Natsuki.
Yeah, and he's the
one. It was a cousin, not an uncle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was an older cousin.
And,
he was like
he moved the ice. That happened. Like, just little stuff like that is what really made the movie.
Yeah. Well,
it wasn't really little though, Mark. It was kind of a plot point there.
That was a big plot point.
I'm sorry. That was not a little thing. That was a big thing that a little character did.
Yeah. I don't. On the one hand, like, you just hate that character so much when he does something so stupid as moving the ice out of the, you know, supercomputer room and to, you know, help cool down Granny's old dead body. You know,
spoiler alert, she dies.
Yeah, spoilers for Summer Wars, by the way. If anybody,
yes, the super magical mega hacking AI is able to kill her in her sleep.
Well, that's not really what happens.
It kind of is.
No, well, it didn't kill her. What happened was it shut off the machine that would warn you if something was happening.
So it killed
to her.
her.
Yeah,
indirectly.
I mean, indirectly, yes. Okay,
but
it killed her.
But the doctor guy even said though, like, even if he had gotten the warning, you know, she still might have died. He might not have been able to save her.
She was still pretty old.
But let's be honest here.
Really
we know what happened.
Yeah.
It killed her.
Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, but that's part of the reason why they like. After, you know, they're all sad after Granny's death, but then they marshal their forces and they're like, let's get revenge, you know. Like, that's part of the reason why they want to go after, was it Love Machine? That's what they call it. Why they want to go after him so bad.
That name.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, the first time I heard that,
Who
I was
in
like,
Pittsburgh? Really? Excuse me. Was it Pittsburgh? Yeah. Who in Pittsburgh thought that was a good idea?
I don't know. It didn't bother me. Anyway.
I
just thought
thought
it
the name was
was
like, that's
Well,
really
who in the
freaking
Department
silly.
of Defense thought it'd be a good idea to let it loose on the internet? That's what I want to know.
There's a certain, we'll get to that. There's a certain level of stupid that starts to bother me in this movie. The movie kind of passed it.
Yes. Was it? Oh, I wanted to say about the crazy cousin you were talking about, Mark. what exactly is like the past between him and Natsuki? You know, because I know they're cousins and everything, but it's almost a little weird how attached he is, protecting her and oh, you can't have a boyfriend. How dare you get a boyfriend without my permission?
I think it's exactly what you think it is.
No,
Alex.
I don't.
Okay.
I think
I don't want to go there though.
Hold on a sec. No, I don't think.
Ship it.
No incest, please.
I don't think
They're
that's what it
second
is because
cousins.
if you guys think about it, I mean, there's always that archetype of the brother who's overprotective of his sister and that kind of thing, and they're always suspicious of their significant other whenever they start dating or something like that. That's what it seems like.
But remember though, there was a comment about why she wasn't dating him in the movie.
He's not related though.
Wabi-Suke, you mean?
Wabi-Suke is not related by blood. So
Wasn't talking about Wabi-Suke. There was another comment earlier about it.
What? I missed that.
About why the cousin wasn't dating her.
why?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I swear to God I heard this.
I didn't catch that.
Also, remember, they're an old family. They got to keep the blood strong.
Okay, I'm not going there. I think you're trying to make it weirder than it is.
No, I want to hear what was the quote that you remember.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but they were having an argument about, well, this guy's such a loser. Why is she dating him? And then someone goes, hey, she ain't dating you, so I guess you're a bigger loser. I think that was the line, but I could be wrong.
Well, no. It's not you're a big. No, I remember that line. That line was just hey, well, she's not dating you, so you don't need to worry about it. It was kind of hey, back off, it's not your place.
I could have taken it out of context, and that's fine. It's okay.
Yeah. I think even if they said, insinuating between the two of them, I'm guessing it was in a joking fashion, because at that time they were sort of mocking him, for getting so upset at Kenji and Natsuki.
Also, did I mention that the uncle was creepy? The doctor uncle?
Oh, really? He's just sort of. He's not one of the more interesting characters. He's just sort of. It's
the moment. The first line he actually says is, "So did you two do it? I'm sure you already did. You're a college fan." And he's like, "Okay, this just got weird."
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that.
He was drunk, which is I think why he did it. That was hilarious.
It's still this just got weird.
Yeah.
I feel like he talks about that with someone else too, and I cannot remember.
I think what really bothered me though is the fact that no one else was a few people go, "Oh, stop it," but no one's like, "Okay, that's a little weird."
And the kids just sitting there all "Oh my god, I don't know how to answer this."
Yeah.
Why am I even here?
Well, that reminds me, there's another sort of oddly sexual moment in the show where it's where Wabi-Suke is looking at his the code on his iPhone or whatever, and the little girl comes up and is like, "Oh, what are you looking at?" He's like, "Girls with big boobs." And he shows her the iPhone, and she
funny.
turns away and shields her eyes. I thought that was actually kind of funny.
I thought it was cute.
That was a little uncomfortable.
Also, the nosebleeds.
But it was
No.
It was funny, but it was a little uncomfortable.
That was funny. If you want to know uncomfortable, go back to the bath scene. That was uncomfortable. He's like, what was it? He said something so weird.
Natsuki just bathed in this water.
And I'm like,
The kids pop out.
Oh god, he did the stiff thing. Oh god.
And then the kids pop out of the water and scare the crap out of him a few seconds later.
It's funny because I remember the kids scaring the crap out of him. I don't remember the part where he says about the bath. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really have a reaction. I'm
I'm a little weirded out.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's in love.
It's weird, but that's how it's supposed to be, obviously. And it's a funny moment. There's some good comedic moments in this movie.
Yeah, there is. I agree.
Yeah.
A couple of the women in this really made me angry.
What do you mean?
There was that.
They were just like, you men are playing these video games, and our mothers just died, and you have no sense of duty.
It's oh my god, just hold their heads underwater until bubbles stop coming up. Just end them.
They were just being really
did.
ignorant
Do it.
to the point of I was ashamed that we were both women. I was like, you need to stop. You just need to stop.
Hey, so they're playing this game that will save the world.
Right. Well,
kind of important.
To be fair, they got into it once it became apparent that he was going to crash the satellite into the nuclear reactors.
It took that long.
Yeah,
So I'd like to point out to everyone though that has seen this movie, and no, even for those who haven't. Basically, what was going on is that the AI has taken control of apparently a social network site that controls almost every aspect of daily life now, including the sewer systems and electricity and all that. and this group of people, the family, they actually have a good plan for taking it out. They have tried to explain this to the women, and the women still give them crap. Well, why aren't you helping us prepare for the funeral? Because we're trying to save the world.
Right.
It's like, really, you people are going to complain about them trying to save the world. No offense to this is really like mean-spirited, but yes, I understand your grandmother just died, but they're trying to prevent more deaths. That's a little more important right now.
Right. Well, I get the feeling that they couldn't fully comprehend like the whole Oz thing and the virus, and they didn't understand it like our main characters did.
See, I think that's kind of dumb though, because when the stupid virus, or excuse me, the AI took over Oz, it was able to shut down Japan for a whole day. If that didn't make it a clear and present danger, what will?
It was like even the point after the grandmother had died, and they were like, if this thing hadn't have been in Oz, we might have been able to save her. And they're like, well, let's just get back on with this funeral thing. Right. And he's like, you need to stop.
And the part that bothered me most is when they were like, well, we have our own problems. Like, everyone else can deal on their own. It's like okay.
Who cares if anyone else dies? This is our problem. And I was like, excuse you.
I was like, you selfish son of a gun. Like, right. Oh my God.
No, yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean, I'm trying to defend their point, but I mean, I guess I don't remember her name. She was one of the leader of the women. She was one of the older daughters, I think, of the grandma. And she was the one sort of leading the charge and getting the funeral arrangements prepared, and everything like that. I guess they were probably more thinking just short term, we gotta, get this taken care of, get the family together, get her friends together, think about this sort of thing. They really weren't aware of the fact that imminent doom is upon us from the internet if we don't stop this, crazy AI, basically. Another funny moment I quite liked was just at the very beginning of the movie, how what's her name? Natsuki, shows up and is asking for Kenji and his friend, I need someone to come with me, and just do this job. It just involves coming out to my beautiful summer home, and just staying with me for a week or whatever. And then, what is it? Kenji wants to go. His friend tells him not to. And then the friend volunteers to do it and is like, yeah, screw work. I'll go do it. And of course, Kenji wins rock, paper, scissors and gets to go. And then when Natsuki tells the story to the grandma, and poor Kenji is freaking out because he's figured out he's supposed to be her boyfriend, and he's
Beyonce.
Super. It's even
not
worse.
Even her boyfriend.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we're engaged, Grandma. We're not even just dating. We're engaged. And Kenji's like, wait, what?
He makes the best faces at the beginning.
I'm not even trying to play along. What?
So, this is why you always ask about stuff like this, because I want you to just come out to my summer home with me out in the country. That's how a lot of horror movies start, people.
True.
He's a math nerd. What else does he have to do?
Be killed horribly?
What did you guys think of because I remember soon after that, you got the scene where he's just telling Natsuki no, I can't do this, I'm sorry, we got to go back. And then Natsuki gives him a little, it's not a hug, but
she grabs his hands.
Yeah, that's it. She grabs his hand, and he turns completely red, and that's sort of an animation thing throughout this, where whenever the characters get nervous, their skin just turns an unearthly color of pink or red. And I don't know, it's not my favorite type of thing, but I don't know, it only happens a few times in this movie, so it didn't bother me that much. What do you guys think of that?
I mean, as long as it's one of those things where it's obviously a style and no one recognizes it. If someone in the movie would be like, "Hey, your skin is turning red," I'd be like, "All right,
that's be awkward."
That's a little weird. But if it's just a thing where it's "Oh, I'm showing that the character is embarrassed,"
or
I think it's okay.
really flustered of some type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was funny because it kind of started neck up. It wasn't just his face turned red. It kind of slowly
Yeah.
All right, and then I guess we can go on to the whole concept behind this movie with that little intro where it's like showing us, the world of Oz and how it's basically like this social network thing, that's especially prevalent in Japan, but is worldwide. I think they say they have like 1 billion different users. And in this world, people tie important job-related things to their accounts, like Jeremy was saying, like the sewage system, like the electricity. People use this thing to,
Hospital.
Unlike their cell phones, everything's tied to their accounts.
Now, as I said when I was watching the movie and rubbing my temples in anguish, to a certain extent, this makes sense. If you're a businessman, if you're a banker, even if you're a librarian, this sort of thing makes sense. But if you're like in charge of the city waste department or a military leader, and you're tying access to something that you shouldn't give away access to,
they have the utmost security that can never be cracked.
You know what?
It's a Titanic
Everything
situation.
can be cracked. Oh my god! And then they show, this guy who helps guide around a satellite in low Earth orbit. Oh yeah, his account can be used to change his trajectory. What? What? Nobody thought that was a bad idea. Nobody at all.
It wasn't an Oz thing. I don't think though. It was like he was using the GPS on the thing to like change its orbit or something.
Yes, but it was still accessing it from the controller's account. So it's still like, really? You thought this was a good idea? What?
Well, I mean, let's take away the security, risks of it for just a second, which I know
very, very convenient.
Admittedly, it would be cool, to be able to have like, just that interconnection, make things a lot easier to organize and like control.
All right, I understand that. But there's certain ways that it does make sense, because why would you tie that into, say, the sewage system? If you work for the water department, there's a good chance you can't do it from home.
Right.
I'm bringing that up right now. That doesn't make much sense.
Well, and I loved it because there was a moment, because it's been a while since I'd seen this film, and I had forgotten whether it was the satellite going to the nuclear reactors that was the cause of like the big risk at the end of the movie, or whether it was like Love Machine like taking control of nuclear reactor, like the manager of the nuclear reactor, and like making them explode, or taking over like nuclear missiles from the president or something like that.
When I saw that, and when I heard the line about the president, you can hear from Alex. Did you guys have to like pause the movie for a couple of minutes while I ranted?
Well, we didn't pause it, but you did rant for a little while.
The part where you like stood up.
No.
Yes, but thankfully that didn't actually happen, though. It was, the satellite crashing in the nuclear reactors thing. That, I mean, it still is ridiculous that the owner of the satellite tied
it's still
his
ridiculous
thing.
and infeasible, but it's not as stupid as
the nuclear reactor.
Hey
thing.
guys, let's tie in access to a nuclear reactor into a social networking site. See, say it. Just say that out loud a few times, and you go, huh? That's not very smart.
Right. Yeah. And maybe this is just me sort of being stupid because I don't know anything about like coding or hacking or anything like that. But you know how Kenji gets sent the text, that's just like a long list of numbers.
Yeah.
And he's somehow able to crack it into like a code, like he finds the letters that correspond with the numbers, to create some sort of password thing. How exactly does that even work? Like, how do numbers correlate to letters? How does he know that that's even what it was? Like, all the text was a bunch of numbers. It didn't even say, like, this is a security code, like, crack it or anything.
Yeah, and he just did it.
Because magic. Because magical math.
Well, I mean, the thing
who
is,
has brain aneurysms.
That's what he does for a living, though. He just codes things. Like, with his friend, they just do maintenance on Oz.
Yeah.
So I think he figured, like, it's probably of code because I'm just used to seeing these things.
But that being said, though, without its cipher or anything like that, it's just a random string of numbers. That doesn't mean anything.
He's a super math nerd, though.
But that doesn't mean anything because it's still just a random set of numbers that you can't really get anything out of it.
It's movie logic. Yay.
It's anime. Just
When you're a super math nerd, you can do anything.
yeah, didn't he win like the competition in Japan or something?
He almost did.
No, he was the runner-up.
Shoot.
No, I'm just imagining that the winner was in fact a 20-pound brain in a jar. Literally, it's like literally like just like 3 brains that have been fused together and have been fed growth hormones. and it has like robo arms and legs, and it just does math all day.
Nice.
That's feasible, especially in a movie like this.
Well,
And then there's
Mark,
Kenji.
Mark, we watched this movie. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Robo brain.
I think that was a good time to bring up the character of the grandma. I just looked up her first name.
She
It's
was
like
so awesome.
Sakay or something like that.
Sakaki-san?
No, it's not Sakaki-san.
Wait, how is it spelled?
It was Sakae.
Sakai.
Sakai. Okay, we'll go with that. No one ever references her by her first name, I don't think.
So grandma.
She's just
Yes,
grandma.
But she's honestly like one of my favorite like movie anime characters like that I can think of. Just because she's on the one hand, she's nice, and sort of the comforting grandma that you want. But on the other hand, she's also sort of this hard ass who's obviously the leader of this family, sort of this matriarch sort of figure.
She is so sassy.
And not only can she like compel all of these people to help her out, by calling out old favors and things when this crisis is going on, or giving this charismatic support to all of her, relatives. But then she's also able to wield a spear, and almost like cut what is his name?
Wabi-Suke.
Wabi-Suke apart.
was
He's
awesome.
like, she says like, stand up and die like a man.
Now, I'd like to point out about that scene the fact that he's able to grip the blade with his bare hands without causing him to bleed. So that means one of two things: either that dude's got steel hands, or that blade was incredibly dull, and this woman was going to torture him as she stabbed him to death hundreds of times with an incredibly dull blade.
Well,
I like the second option.
I know it was obviously some sort of ceremonial thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was dull. I mean, why would she need to sharpen it? A random
She's a
spear.
grandma.
It doesn't
First
make
of
her
all.
less of a monster.
Well, you think she really would have just stabbed Wabi-Suke right there?
Yes.
She did still.
Yes. Dude, she was swinging for the neck, bro. She was going for blood.
I guess so.
Are we still? Are we allowed to swear on this?
You can get away with one.
Okay.
Why not?
Notice he got the fuck out of there. Like he bolted. Like
Oh God, Granny's off her bed. It's time to go.
Like the moment that she let him just get up, he was gone.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
She doesn't mess around.
Yeah.
The thing that I think of though is like that was probably really strenuous on her, just like swinging that and charging after him. I feel like that was because you see Kenji like helping her sit down, so she's obviously tired after that.
Well, I
I feel like that might have contributed to her death.
Yeah.
So it's
physical
Wabi-Suke's fault.
exertion, But
No matter which way you look at it, it's his fault.
well, and it's also his fault because he designed Love Machine.
Right,
and Love
so
Machine's
everything
the
is his
thing
fault, and he should just go die.
pretty much. But I think they even say they're going there to celebrate her birthday. I think she's turning 90, so she's pretty ancient. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, she's able to walk around as easily as she did, swing around that spear like she's some sort of old swords master or something.
Probably is.
Probably.
Gotta defend them crops.
But I like the scenes she had like with Kenji, where she would be like confronting him and like asking him if if he was man enough to be with Natsuki and if he would take care of her. She's obviously this very serious person who really cares about her family.
Would you die for her?
Yeah, I think she does say that. You're
And,
right.
like that's the only time he like doesn't stutter too, and he's like yes.
Yeah.
But every other time he's like, I guess so.
Yeah, he had a lot of like and ums, like these faces of just like shock and awe, for a few seconds before he actually says something.
That's because he's probably the closest character to being normal in that whole movie. Everyone else in that family is insane.
I don't know.
He's not that normal.
Natsuki is like
I love Cosmo. He is my favorite.
Cosmo is pretty cool.
Kazuma is... It's pretty clear that he's got some sort of emotional issues going on. The reason I say that... help me here, Alex. What's his name again?
Who are you talking about?
The main character.
Oh,
Kenji.
Kenji, thank you. I'm sorry. The whole main reason, though, I'm saying that Kenji is by far the most normal person in the movie. Sure, he's very nervous around people. He's fairly intelligent, but he has fairly normal reactions when people spring ridiculous things on him.
Yeah,
oh,
he
hey,
does-
yeah, you're gonna be my fake fiance. Haven't told you a word about it though. What?
But he does have really
yeah, my-
realistic reactions, which I love about his character.
I don't know about you guys, but if that was from me, like, what?
Right.
No. This is not what we agreed
even
to.
even if it's a girl you like, it's still really weird if she's just suddenly like gone from like kind of not really noticing
Completely
you.
in the friend zone
Yeah,
to fiance.
Yeah, and it's like,
Hey, you know.
what is this? Like,
Right. Well, I would say that Natsuki is pretty normal, but she has sort of two things going against her. Number one, how she does this crazy plan, just to like fulfill this promise she made to her grandma, years ago or whatever it was. And then number two, a sort of strange infatuation with Wabi-Ske do sort of take her a few notches down on the normal scale. But
now
beyond that...
her story about Kenji was exactly what Wabi-Ske's was.
Right.
That's a little creepy.
Well, I did kind of actually like that scene when it's after Kenji sort of been found out, to be like the guy in the news or whatever, and some of the women are like gossiping, and you see Natsuki's face just get like worse and worse, as they keep talking about how she had this thing for Wabi-Ske and how all those things that they mentioned correlated between Kenji and Wabi-Ske.
I've got a serious crush on my step uncle.
Nothing weird about that.
Well, they're not blood related, so.
It's
still
they
a
are
little
related
weird.
by common law though, so it's a little creepy.
A little bit.
Not to mention that how many years does he have on her?
Well, that's the thing. It's like when you're like a little girl, it doesn't make sense to you. Marriage and incest is not even anything in your mind. You're
But
just like,
She's
I
not that
love
little,
you.
though.
Well, I mean, like when she was little, though. 'Cause
Oh.
he's been gone for 10 years, so she's probably about like 6, 7.
Yeah.
So-
I get the feeling, it's more of a childhood sort of love than anything else.
So it's all she
Let's
knew
assume
about
that it
him.
still is, because if it's otherwise, it's a little creepy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. She gets a little bit like that, like when he first shows up, she's like, Uncle Wabi-Ske, and comes and hugs him and is hanging out with him all the time, and Kenji's sort of like feeling a little alone. But
Well, like,
for that, she
it didn't
doesn't.
seem like romantic, really. It was more just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I haven't seen you so long. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like,
whereas everyone else in the family obviously treats him like the black sheep, she's the only one who's like, oh, you're the best. I love you.
he is a black sheep. He's almost always in the shadows.
That's true. Well, also because he's supposed to be an evil character, or at least not an evil character.
Morally ambiguous.
He's sort of an anti-hero kind of character.
the part where he was like, Grandma, I did this all for you. And I was like, whoa. That, like, okay, like, I can see how you could have that reaction, but to me, I was just, that's...
To remind, I agree with you, Mark.
Okay.
I just want to add one little thing.
Yeah.
A couple of you might get this reference. It's all for you, Damien. It's all for you.
I feel like I should get that. What's that from?
The Omen.
Oh, okay.
I've not seen
where
that.
the child is the Antichrist and his nanny hangs herself while chanting that.
Jeez.
To me, it was just
I'm gonna cry
to
now.
me it was terrifying because he's like, yeah, this like virus that's gonna like harm millions of people and has ruined basically Japan. I did it all for you, Grandma, and I was
Yeah, I was creeped out by that
geez.
too.
Well, I
All
feel like
right.
he was more thinking about, because they did mention how her husband like squandered all their money away to gambling or something, so they really didn't have a lot of money. So he's like, oh, if I make this and sell it to the government, we'll have lots of money and I can repay you back for all that's taking me in and loving me even though I was an illegitimate child, and I love you, Grandma.
Yeah, well, and part of the whole reason why everybody thought Wabi-Ske was this big jerk, was because he had stolen the family fortune, and run off to America. It seems like in reality, he like I thought he said that like that money you gave me when he's talking to the grandma. So I think
Yeah.
the grandma gave it to him.
She did.
And he went off to America with it, and with the whole purpose of getting them their fortune back. And I think that actually works pretty well for his character, because it doesn't just make him this one-dimensional, asshole kind of guy. He actually does care pretty deeply for the grandma, maybe not so much for the rest of the family, but he does care about like making them happy and making her, financially secure and all of that, repaying her, like you said, for raising him so well. I quite like that scene where Natsuki's talking to him on the phone, and she finally says, she's dead, Uncle Wabi-Ske, and he's just sort of got that shocked look on his face, and you see over, outside the window of his car, there's the younger version of the grandma and child Wabi-Ske just sort of standing there in their kimonos, like looking at him. I thought that was quite a moving little bit. And then when Natsuki finds the grandma's like sort of last letter, to her family, I think she talks quite a bit about Wabi-Ske there, like his past, and like you said with the illegitimate child thing.
Like, make sure he's You give him lots of food because he's probably hungry.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's right after that too that they decide like we're gonna take Grandma's advice literally and eat this giant meal as we debate, what we're gonna do as the timer clicks down, to the end of the world, nuclear apocalypse sort of thing.
That one kind of caused a few headaches. Oh yeah, we gotta eat this meal. We gotta eat it furiously. Yeah. I'm like, guys.
They were talking throughout it, though.
And that is true, but it's like, guys, solve the problem, then eat. Okay? Okay, you're not that hungry. I can see that. You're just eating because of the letter. How's about you take care of the first problem, then you worry about the food?
I agree. I do agree with that, but at the same time, it is just sort of traditionally, both in reality and in storytelling, it is a very family thing, to have everyone gather at the table, and eat and discuss things, like that scene from earlier in the movie, like when Kenji shows up, and they're all just talking and, it feels actually, I do praise the writing of this movie because a lot of just the miscellaneous dialogue going on in those big family scenes feels very natural, like these people have known each other their whole lives and they have this sort of banter going on that I think is really well done.
And the voice acting never seemed forced.
Yeah.
And
was
for the
good.
majority, I liked it all.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the voice acting really. It was all good.
I like the art too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is one thing I did want to address because obviously this film takes the whole the blending of 2D and 3D, very literally, with the 2D world being the world of the family, the real world, and this beautiful 3D world being the fantastic video game world. And I want to say, I'm trying to remember, I think they even did that in the Digimon movie I was talking about, like that. When they're inside the internet, it's 3D models, when it's outside, it's the 2D look, but it's got he has a certain drawing style. I don't know exactly what you call it, but it's sort of very fluid looking faces and things.
Actually, I think it's only 2D on the phones because I don't think they ever actually showed it on the computers.
It's only 2D on the phones. What do you mean?
When they actually show the world of Oz, when they're showing it from the real world, they only ever show it on the phones. And it's always very low res phone graphics. Which is why it probably looks 2D.
Oh no, you're right. In the real world, Oz looks 2D, but obviously when we're there,
No, I mean when they're actually seeing it through the computers, it probably looks the way that they show it when we're seeing it. They only ever show it when you're watching the movie. I only ever remember seeing it when they're actually monkeying around with their phones. So everything looks really 2D and flat because it's their phones. They can't really show that much detail.
Well, when after Natsuki, beats Love Machine, and you see her, how she looks, in her super, ultra rare outfit, in the actual game, it's this ridiculous, beautiful thing, and then you see it on the phone, it's just this little chibi, very basic animated little thing, so. That's definitely how it works.
She got rare loot, and that's all that matters.
Very
that was something we were bringing up throughout the film because in the very opening bit, when they're going over Oz, they talk about how the two whales that are circling the bottom of it are the guardians of Oz. But then all they ever do to actually guard Oz in the movie is to give her this random upgrade, where she gets this cool looking item that really doesn't seem to do anything except make the last scene more dramatic and flashy.
Maybe the whales were in it the whole time. They just knew this was all going to happen. They're just come on, humanity, let's see if you can pull through this.
I was glad
did
they came
anyone else
back.
find it just ridiculous how they ended the card game?
Oh, of course it's ridiculous.
Card of the cards!
Even the first time I watched this movie, it was sort of when they have that last koi kaze card or whatever, streaming down towards the board and it's on fire and there's this holy light coming off of it. In the background, there's this beautiful choir music, as she's saving the day. I mean,
So dramatic.
It's so over the top, but it's fun. You're not supposed to take that part super seriously. It's supposed to be kind of fun, and I like it for that reason. What were you gonna say, Gretchen? You're saying something right before Jeremy.
Oh, I don't remember.
I apologize. I interrupt everyone.
It's okay.
I'm a bad person.
Oh, I think I was saying I was glad that the whales came back because I was confused. We saw them at the beginning, and I thought they were a really cool idea, but then not till the end. There's nothing about.
At least
them.
they weren't just completely ignored. So there's something in that. I suppose speaking of that moment, we should talk about some of the fights throughout the movie because, the whole movie is like gorgeously animated, but where it really shines is like during those scenes like where King Cosma is like fighting Love Machine, for the first time when he transforms into his, super mega, I don't know, deity looking form, and just the fluidity of the punches and everything that they've got going on there is really well done, I thought.
Very nice.
One of my favorite parts of the entire movie is actually the intro when it does all the different montages of when Cosma
is beating all the bad guys or the random people in the tournament.
Yeah, and like there's one part where he's fighting like this giant crab lobster guy, and he just like cracks open one of his claws and like beats him up, and I'm like, oh, okay.
You see, that was just a waste of energy. He should have attacked its weak point for massive damage.
Giant enemy crabs.
Oh God, I apologize for that one.
No, that's E3 2007, right? I want to say. Yep. A day that will live in infamy for the rest of video game history. The one thing that did bother me a little bit was how, they're doing this whole bit where they're training, and getting ready to fight Love Machine again, because he loves these games and he can't turn down a challenge, and Cosma's doing both his karate, moves in real life, and then they're also getting the supercomputer ready, so they have enough like processing power to, take on Love Machine, like, and react super quick or whatever. And then when Cosma shows up again, like in the actual game, he's got yellow hair. I just kept on thinking that he just turned Super Saiyan off screen. It's the only explanation I can think of because he's more powerful than he was before. He's got yellow hair. Makes perfect sense.
Speaking of things that just really aren't very well explained why they happen in the movie, this is something I kept bringing up, and I kind of think you guys kind of wondered the same thing. Why didn't they just like shut down the Oz servers for like a week so they could deal with the problem?
Right. Well, I thought the point you made that really sort of jarred with me, that didn't make sense why they didn't do it in the movie, is why one of the governments of the world didn't shoot some sort of anti-aircraft missile up at the falling satellite, to blow it up in the atmosphere so it wouldn't hurt anything.
Because Love Machine has control over everything, so they can't even do that.
Well, but if he had control over missiles, he could just shoot a missile at their house and he wouldn't need the satellite.
Well, he wanted to make it dramatic.
Well, no, but at that point, he only had two accounts.
I know.
But you could have done it a while ago.
Yeah, but he had the satellite and he had the original account. And so the government could have shot something at that point.
As stupid as the whole tying everything to a social network thing with Oz is, as we've gone over, I'd like to think that they're not stupid enough to put vital military secrets on the web so easy for someone to access and like cause a war to break out, I'd like to hope that that's the case, and so we had to resort to the satellite, nuclear reactor thing rather than just shooting a missile.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though. Like Alex said though earlier, when that whole thing, it didn't bother me as much when they did it like that. I still think it's a little stupid, but when they first showed the nuclear silo with a the countdown, I just look at Alex and go, "This better not be what I think it is. If it is, I swear to God, I'm walking out right now."
Then I think I even told you like, no, it's not as bad as you think.
It was still pretty bad, but I originally thought it was like a countdown to when he makes the reactor go into meltdown mode.
Right.
At that point, it would have been, "No, I'm done. I'm done. No, I'm done. No, this is too stupid now."
Oh man. Well, were you gonna say something, Mark? Before Jeremy was talking something about the fight with Super Saiyan Cosma.
I was just gonna agree with you that I never understood why he got yellow hair. It was just one of those things where I saw it and I'm like, oh, okay.
I liked it though.
I liked it, but I mean, why?
Just sort of
Wait,
there.
wasn't he wearing like goggles or something on his head before?
Yeah.
Maybe he had hair underneath it and his hat got knocked off.
Maybe.
That's possible, actually. I'd have to look at his design a little closer.
Basically, I found myself in this movie either being like, that was really awesome, or that was really cool, and then the other side of that is, what?
Just why?
Yeah, what, why, and how? Like,
I love how Kenji's friend gave him the most pathetic little new avatar that he could actually. He's like, "Oh, here, this is this little chubby little squirrel. Go fight it."
Oh yeah, I actually love the moment where after Cosma gets beaten by Love Machine, he's just like, "Look over there," and Love Machine actually falls for it, and you just see him like taking Cosma's body and jumping away.
He doesn't have common sense. It's just an AI.
I guess.
beep boop.
I don't.
Feelings
It does
not
make
found.
the evil big bad guy feel a little less threatening when he's so easily duped, but we'll let that slide. And then what did you guys think of the whole, we sort of have this fake out climax, around the middle of the movie where, cool fight between Cosma and Love Machine. There's that whole bit I really love where they're flying around, like the books and everything are flying off the shelves, and the Love Machine uses 2 enemy AIs, like smash 2 buildings together into Cosma, and then they trap Love Machine inside the whole, like, whatever it is, their prison that they've made using the supercomputer, and they shut all the doors.
The second cousin
put the water
done goofs.
Yes. And to be fair, obviously you're supposed to feel like be really pissed at that cousin when that happens. And I think it's a sign of that the movie is working, like that you're invested in the story, because you're just as angry at him as the characters are in the
Cosmo
movie.
punches him in the face, and I was so happy.
If you think about it, there are 3 climaxes in this movie. There is when it gets captured in the water system thing. That doesn't work. When the card game and the clock stops and then it keeps going, and that doesn't work. And then when Kenji
he
Right.
redirects a missile.
Yeah,
Kenji redirects a missile with
And then
his
they find
brain.
a hot spring.
Kenji has a brain aneurysm trying to
yes.
move the missile.
I want to find a gift of that.
I will give you the last 2 are definitely sort of the 2 main climaxes. But at least for me, like, it got to that, with the point in the middle, it is a climactic moment. It's an important plot point, and it's a cool fight. It's obviously has a lot building up to it. But, if you're thinking in the cynical filmmaker way like I am, it's like, well, the running time of this movie is 2 hours, and we're only, an hour and a half in, so there's no way this is going to be the end.
I'm a normal person, so I look at it and go, oh, hey, the bad guy was captured, so everything's good. And then he gets out, and
I've gone over 3x structure too many times. I know when they're trying to fake me out.
See, like,
It was so obvious, though. It really was.
It was obvious, but it's one of those things where you
you
see
don't
it.
want to believe that it's
Well,
going to
yeah.
happen.
How I think it works is, like, that they're not actually going to capture him, but the excitement comes from how does he escape, what happens. It's a combination of
And it turns out
the cousin being super stupid, and then the revelation of the giant, 400 million, Oz or account monster, Love Machine thing, which was a cool moment, really makes the villain more threatening.
I don't know. I think he was more threatening when he looked more like a
Indian god or something.
Thank you for saying it, so I didn't have to sound racist. So
I don't know. I don't know how else to describe him.
I mean, that's how.
I don't know what you call it. I really like the effect that they do with the sun wheel that appears behind him, but I'm pretty sure that's based in some sort of like Hindu or some sort of like Asian mythology or religious thing. But it looked really cool.
They had some really cool designs for things in Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked Natsuki's avatar with the
Yeah.
kimono
Wait,
and then like the little
You mean like how it
ears.
is normally,
Well, both.
or after the
Both.
angel
just
transformation?
because of like how
whale
flowy
magic.
the kimono is, and then her having like little, I don't know like what animal it is, like a rabbit, but I don't think it's a rabbit. I don't know what she is.
Yeah, kind of.
I thought of it as like a fox, like,
Something like that.
But
I think it was a fox.
for those of you who know League of Legends, like Ari,
It's a kitsune. I
it
believe is what it was.
literally like
Why do I know that?
she looks exactly like Ari.
It was also based off of kitsune.
Yeah.
Why do I know that?
My favorite avatar was the Squid Ninja.
Oh yeah.
Because there's 2 parts where
Squid Ninja.
one part of his, like, at one point his avatar just looks like a little squid with a ninja outfit, and then when he's actually attacking, he grows more humanoid and he actually like gets swords and stuff. I was like,
well, that was one thing I would like to praise the movie for. Even for, you've got like the avatars of all the people in the family, but even like the avatars of nameless characters that we don't even know about, they're just sort of there, in the background.
They look really
like they
cool.
all seem to have some sort of unique design to them, and some of them are like, oh, I want to know more about like who that character is, who's got that avatar. So I thought they did a good job with that.
This is kind of random, but like when they were trapping Love Machine in like that giant house full of water thing, I was like, okay, so they're gonna fill it up with water, and then what? I'm like, are they gonna zap him with electricity, or are they gonna like? Because I don't think he can drown because it's not real life, so that probably doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
I was just thinking like what they were doing. What would happen then? I want to know I want to know.
if you think of it like this, getting punched in the digital world apparently hurts.
Right.
like to the avatars. So apparently, if you can die from taking a punch in the digital world, then I guess you can die from drowning in digital water. Like,
Well,
I don't know.
It might also, I would say, it would probably serve the point of just trapping him, making it so he can't get out, he can't do anything, and then Kenji, would find a way, through his super smart math, coding, whatever, find a way. Yes, his magic powers.
It got to a point that it's like, no, it's not magic. He has magical powers.
Where he finds a way to, disrupt his code or do something, to sort of stop Love Machine.
And Wabiske was trying to find something at that point, too.
Okay. Well,
wasn't working, though.
That was later, though. That was when they went and did the Koi Kaze card game.
Okay,
thing.
I thought that was previous.
He had to come back at that
I am
point.
mistaken.
Yeah. And what did you guys think of Jeremy already said the heart of the cards moment, but as over the top and ridiculous as the whole Koi Kaze thing is, and it's sort of confusing to non-Japanese viewers because I have no idea how the rules of that game work, even though this is like the 4th time I've seen this movie. But I do think it is cool because they sort of referenced it earlier, like Natsuki was playing it with Kenji, and then Kenji played it with the grandma, so I do like how it sort of came back as this thing, and with this whole idea that Love Machine loves games, and loves to win, and he can't like turn down a game. And it did provide, some nice dramatic moments, like when she loses, all the avatars that she had built up to that point, and it seems like it's all over, and oh no, you're gonna have to forfeit the game, and then all the avatars, all the people in the world that were apparently just sitting there quietly watching, throughout the first 10 minutes of that card game. Now they decide to help.
Well, she was winning then.
That brings
That's
up a good point. Remember when they said that all of Oz had essentially become just one big cage match?
Right.
Why was it that they were depending on one person to defeat this?
Because Cosmo was undefeated.
No, but hear me out here. Why didn't they help?
Because they're not undefeated.
It's a dumb reason, but I can see it. They're like, oh, well, we're all in trouble, so obviously this hero will help us. We don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
It's like every superhero movie ever.
I don't know about you, but if I were Cosmo, I'd be going, hey, you guys could help, This guy's kind of cheating. If you don't help, he's going to eat you too, so...
Yeah. No, it is a little bit strange. I suppose you could make the argument it's just because they weren't able to coordinate. Like the people who were fighting Love Machine, were all the people, the family members right there, who were there together to fight it. Who knows? Maybe like when they were offline, like we're on Oz, maybe other people were trying to fight Love Machine and just getting their butts kicked.
Yes, but here's the thing though: when you see the best player in the game losing, maybe it's a good point. Hey guys, maybe we should step in and help out. So, we don't end up like him. Just throwing that out there.
A while.
So the first little avatar that joined up with Natsuki, I just imagine him going, yeah, first! Like how I'm like, yeah, first comment.
First.
My
It was
idea.
totally first
It was my
guy.
idea,
Well,
guys.
he'd probably say that like after they won and beat Love Machine. Like, I was the first!
I did it myself.
It was me. I
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah, and then we've already sort of talked on the whole, after that, like, Natsuki's crying and the choir music's playing, and then she gets her beam of light, super magical transformation, super hard the cards, flying explosion of light, Love Machine looks like he's defeated, but then there's still 2 avatars remaining. And what did we say? It was Kenji's, the one the first one he'd stolen.
And then
the
missile.
satellite.
Right, and
Satellite.
satellite.
Satellite. Word.
Satellite guy. Which actually just made me think of something. They said earlier that there were like 55 people throughout the world who had been sent that text message of numbers that had managed to solve it. Mm-hmm. And apparently Kenji, was off by one number, like one letter. So technically he didn't hack the code or whatever. But why was Kenji's the only avatar stolen by Love Machine? Like, why didn't it steal from the other 55 people?
Oh, other people solved
Maybe
it?
he was.
Yeah.
Maybe he was the first one, and then he went and got the other ones after that.
That's possible.
Because that's why they probably framed Kenji, because they tracked down which one he hacked, and they're like, it must be him because he's the one who gave it to him, and then he got hacked, and because no one else had shown up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then we get to what was some of these people's favorite part of the movie, where, it's just a combination of Kenji, doing the crazy number thing to get through the security code. He does it once, Love Machine changes it again. He does it a second time, Love Machine changes it again. And then Kenji gets this most like ridiculous trolled face. Like, you can't believe what's going on, and he's just, like, typing the keys very slowly as apparently he's doing this huge mathematical calculation in his head, and it's causing his brain to start bleeding because he's thinking so hard.
Are the best part.
Someone
totally
make me a
expected
gif
just
of
like-
that.
Yes.
I was just totally expecting to just like roll into the back of his head.
Yeah.
Like Exorcist.
Yeah, well,
Someone make me a gif so I can express all of my feelings.
He's shaking and sweating, and his eyes are darting all over the place. I mean, it's
And then his
super.
nose starts bleeding.
Yeah, nose starts bleeding. I mean, it certainly, if it was trying to show him in a moment of complete desperation, then they succeeded, and also made it extremely funny.
Yeah, his
Especially
emotions are just over the top, but it's funny and it works.
Yeah, especially out of context, like you said, like as a GIF, I'm sure that would be pretty amazing. And I quite like the moment where, he solves it for that third time, a love machine is about to stop it again. And then Cosmo comes, soaring and is like, that's enough, and gives him the super punch to the face, that finally kills Love Machine and breaks him to pieces because of Wabi Skay's, like, coding stuff that he'd done to him.
That's actually my favorite form of Love Machine is the one where it's just the modified
Really?
Kenji? It's
and
creepy.
and the smile. Creepy villains are some of my like just favorite type of villains.
And its little snicker.
Yeah,
It sounds like Toxicroak.
Yeah, that's why I like it. It's because like he's laughing, but it's obviously like a very maniacal, like creepy laugh. I'm like, oh god.
I don't know. I mean, I don't dislike it. I think it works. But I would say that when he takes the Indian sun god form or whatever we want to call it, like that's what I find most for that threatening. Just because it looks super scary and he's like a super good fighter in that form.
Yeah. It also helps that it's not, I'm generic blob monster.
Well, and something I was just thinking of, I actually really like that they don't give him a voice. Like he never talks, he just sort of snickers
that
and laughs.
uncomfortable laugh.
Yeah, like that's enough for me. He didn't have to talk, wasn't necessary. It works fine without it.
That's
It
fine.
would have
No,
been worse if he did talk.
that part I'm fine with. But when it turns into a blob monster, I'm like, oh.
When you say blob monster, you mean like all the avatars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous, but it shows like just how many avatars he'd captured at that time. And I do think it's like, it's a moment of Cosmo being really stupid when he's like, I could still take him on charge, and he just shoots like out of his finger like a small number of the avatars he has, and cue hundreds of thousands of avatars flying past Cosmo, and it clears out of the way. Cosmo's just completely destroyed.
Also,
he's been defeated utterly.
Speaking of that, though, that whole part where Cosmo just sits there, just.
He just got totally owned, man. His whole ego is just shattered.
Oh
You
my.
don't recover
Yeah,
from that.
like oh god, he's an MLG.
MLG Pro or go home, man.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
man.
But I like.
Should have rolled.
It's like no. I saw that. It's like oh my god, no.
New
no.
role, new character.
I don't know if you noticed,
Why?
but
Why?
but all of not only Kenji, but all of the characters in this movie had some pretty like crazy reaction, like both faces, and then just moments of just like that sort of anime thing where people just have their mouths open or just staring for seconds at a time.
Love Machine says Cosmo, just lol, uninstall. Noob.
Nice. So yeah, and we talked about the whole Kenji brain aneurysm moment. Satellite managed to veer just off course enough, to not destroy the house, although it does damage it pretty badly.
But they discover a hot spring, so
Yeah, that was a little odd because
I don't think that's what it was. I think what ended up happening is that just the sheer heat from the
from the satellite.
Yeah.
Re-entering. But it's still shooting off the next day, like at the funeral.
That is not how hot springs work.
I don't know what it was. They found some water.
I think
whatever.
it said hot spring though.
Maybe you might be right. Although what probably would have happened is with the amount of
Bringing logic into this,
honestly,
Jeremy.
No,
This is anime.
I'm
We
not
don't have to
entirely-
explain anything.
Stop it, Mark.
Oh, you.
What I assume what would have happened is that I didn't see how much water there was, but it probably would have all been vaporized by the sheer heat of re-entry.
Yeah.
Did we decide that the dog does not have an account because we went
Yes.
back?
The dog doesn't have an account, Alex.
Yes, I admit, I thought, because it zooms in real close on the dog, and I thought the dog had an account on its collar, like it had some electric collar or something.
The
Turns
GPS
out,
in case it gets lost.
well, maybe that was it. Maybe it was
That
the
could've
GPS
been
on
so
its
funny,
collar.
though.
I don't know. Turns out, yes, it was just there to sort of articulate, something outside of the house, because all of them were inside. So if it just zooms up on a random roof, we're not going to know exactly where the satellite's pointing.
It was just funny.
So I was wrong. I admit it. Thanks, guys.
Good.
Yeah, but then what did you guys think of just after the climax? You get the big celebration where Natsuki like jumps on Kenji, and everyone's celebrating in that room, after they win, and then you get the slightly awkward scene where they're at the grandma's funeral and they're all there singing happy birthday to her, like with smiles on their faces, like strumming guitars, and like wearing kimonos and leis and singing like Kumbaya and all this, I guess we'd already had the sadness earlier, but still, like
it was cute.
It was cute, I admit, and that's probably
that is my verdict.
That's how she would have wanted it, that's sort of the character the grandma was. So,
but then the picture changes.
That was kind of weird.
That was really creepy.
It was like her weird toothless laugh sort of face.
Oh yeah,
there's a poltergeist in the air.
Yeah, I did quite like the moment there at the end where where they what is it? Because they're talking about how Kenji and Natsuki aren't actually boyfriend and girlfriend, but they're like, well, you will be soon. We'll get.
They kind of bully them into it.
Engaged, yeah, and like the girls are like pushing them together, and all
and
that.
The uncle's like, I'll kill you if you don't like her. I'll kill you if you do like her.
It's a cousin, but yeah,
sorry,
cousin.
I messed up.
And then I just love how ridiculously, I guess, just cowardly Kenji is, because he's like just standing out there trying to kiss her, and he starts to get his nose bleed. And then she pecks him on the cheek, and he just like completely loses it there. I don't know what's wrong with this kid.
Even his whole like structure, I noticed this in the beginning when he's like standing kind of sideways. He's like 2 inches wide. He's just a wimpy guy.
I know. He's
him.
He is something of a cliche character, like this super smart, shy, geeky kid, who gets caught up with a pretty girl, sort of thing.
What I do like about him, though, is that obviously, like, halfway through the film, you do find out that he has conviction and that he has his own, like, values and that kind of thing. Yeah. So he's not just this little scaredy cat.
He's not near...
I'm socially inept.
He's not near Shinji levels of, like, social awkwardness and unlikableness, which is very much a good thing, because I would not be able to like this movie nearly that much if that was the case.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would have just walked out of the room. I don't like Shinji as a character. Now, in this movie was although it was stupid, it was good on an emotional level, and it was an enjoyable film. So I would say it's a good movie. If it had Shinji as a main character, all of the dialogue would have boiled down to.
Remind me,
stop.
Shinji.
He's the protagonist of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh, okay, then never mind. I don't want to know. I don't know.
Wimpy McWimp.
Well, we'll have to show you like a clip show or something, because there's some pretty.
What I just did is actually a pretty accurate representation of him throughout the whole show.
It's not too far off from the truth. Let's just put it like that. One just minor moment I was just thinking of that I wanted to mention. Maybe this is just me being a film major or whatever, but there's this really nice shot after the grandma has died, and all the family are sort of in mourning, and they're all standing or sitting along this patio, like near the outside. It's just this long pan shot to the left, and we're going over all the members of the family. That it ends with Kenji and Natsuki just sitting there, and Natsuki asks him to hold her hand, and she starts to cry, and it's all sad.
I was like, darn it, just embrace already.
I know, but that shot, was.
If I'm crying, I want people to hold my hand.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like,
just hold me.
I get that Kenji's socially awkward, and has never hung out with girls before, but he has a hard time even just touching her. Like, he touches her hand, and like that's as far as he's willing to go. Then eventually he's able to actually grab her hand, but at first he's just like, cooties.
I think it's one of those things where he's like, does she want me to hold her hand? Like, I don't really know.
She even says like, hold my hand or comfort me or something. She says something before that to prompt it.
Okay, I can see that.
So shy about it.
Yeah,
I think it's cute though, because he's like, I'm gonna try real hard.
He does. He tries.
It's cute. I don't know, but I guess we've pretty much reached the end. So overall thoughts on the movie, at least for me, like I really enjoy this movie because it seems like it's sort of the movie that has like has a little bit of everything in it. The animation is really nice, both in the 2D and the 3D. It's got some good action scenes, it's got good drama, it's got some funny moments, it's also got some sad emotional moments. Like, it's got a little bit of everything, mixed into one. and some of that doesn't work as well. Like some of the dramatic bits don't work as well because of the logical fallacies, as we've pointed out. But I still regard this as probably one of my favorite like anime films, especially saying it's not based on an actual series of anything or a manga. It's like completely original, just an idea this guy came up with. And it is, I rank it as like a movie that I would show to like a non-anime fan, because it's a movie that like anyone in the family could probably sit down and watch and enjoy. It's that sort of family friendly, well, not completely family friendly, but it's a family fun film. It's got something for the adults as well as the kids. So I really like this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite parts about just any anime or any movies that I like, when there's a lot of emotion. Like when, for example, I just love the fact that like all the family's behind Kenji and they're like, you can do it, come on, like we have faith in you. Same thing with what the girl's name? Natsuki. Same thing. We're giving you our accounts. Like, come on, you can do this.
It's an inspirational movie, certainly.
Yeah, exactly, and I love that type of thing. So to me, this is probably one of my favorite movies, and this is only like my second time seeing it.
Oh, so you had seen it before, though?
Yeah, I'd seen it one other time before.
Okay.
And so I didn't think I would like it as much a second time, just because, I don't know about you, but usually when I see a movie once, unless I'm obsessed with it, it's usually enough. But when I saw it for a second time, it made me think, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this a third time.
Yeah. For me, it depends on the movie. Like, one film I would definitely say I didn't like as much the second time was Perfect Blue, for anyone who's seen that, because it's really the first time you see it and don't know what's coming, it's really surprising, and when you sort of know what's coming, it's not as good.
Do you mean the ending?
No, I don't mean the ending. I meant more the part where it's blending dream and reality. Like for me, that's the really cool part of the movie.
But you did like the ending, then the terrible ending to Perfect Blue.
I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was good.
Okay, terrible is too harsh a word, but not well written is probably better.
I mean, it certainly could
like the actual not like the ending events, but just like the actual last 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay, well, I can see like basically like the epilogue, like after the climax. I could see not liking that part, but
that
at
would
least
be
for
the
me,
resolution, Alex.
Okay, fine, the resolution. But for me, like the twist and sort of what comes after that, I really like that part. I could see someone not liking the last 2 minutes, basically.
Alex, we needed a conversation after the podcast about what the parts of a plot are, because I'm starting to be worried. I'm starting to get a little worried.
All right,
here.
we'll have that discussion.
What did you think of the movie?
I'm steering it back that way, Mark. Don't worry.
Okay, just making sure.
Well, the way the cousin acts towards Natsuki and Kenji is pretty much the same way I act towards my friends every time. Well, I used to when I cared. When they would ever get like a new boyfriend, or they're like, oh, I like this boy, I'd be like, I want to know everything about him. I want to know if he's a good person. He better be a good person. He better treat you right, because you are a really good person. I care a lot about your safety and health, and I don't want him to come a jerk and make you cry and stuff, because then I'll have to kill him.
Please tell me you're not as angry as he was, because he's just like always angry.
I'm like the same level of protective. I'm like, I just want you to be okay, and I care about you, but I'm not that crazy and angry.
I'm just imagining that scene from like episode 1 of Madoka, where like Sayaka's like hugging Madoka, and she's like, you're the only one for me, Madoka. I won't let anyone have you, or something like that.
Kind of like that.
That's sort of what I'm envisioning.
A little bit, but less. I don't know. But, even though he was really annoying and I disliked a lot about him, I was like, I do that a lot.
Nice. Jeremy, what are your final thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, it's an enjoyable film. It's a dumb film, but it's an enjoyable one. It's very good on the emotional side. The animation's beautiful. I like the characters for the most part. So yeah, I would recommend it. Just know this, because no one warned me about this. Turn your brain off while you're watching it.
I mean, it's not a movie it's not a thing like Gurren Lagann where you have to completely shut your brain off, but there certainly are points where you have to.
The thing though with Gurren Lagann is though, it went in being completely ridiculous, and that's why it was more acceptable.
Well, right. I mean, once you go over that line, anything pretty much is permissible, as long as you can explain it with spiral energy did it. That's the explanation. Just work with it.
I think you just kind of have to let some stuff go instead of sitting there and thinking, well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that?
Well,
but I like the designs of the characters and the art, and I still thought it was a good movie.
Yeah. I would say, like, at least for me, how Summer Wars works, logically, it's not like the
not
perfect
perfect.
movie, it doesn't flow perfectly when you think of it from a logical perspective, but dramatically it flows. Like, yes, the tying everything onto an online account is pretty stupid when you think about it. Yes, why in the hell the U.S. Department of Defense thought it would be a good idea to unleash this evil virus or AI thing upon the world, not knowing that it would, come to harm them too. Apparently the U.S. is that stupid. So those are logical and fallacies, but within like within the world of the movie, using the logic that the movie is sort of set up for us, nothing like feels like out of character, or bumps within the dramatic arc of the story itself, So if it succeeds in that regard, then I can usually forgive logical and fallacies. Like I would say that about Madoka as well, even though the whole entropy thing is a bit out of proportion.
So overall, good movie.
It's magic. I ain't gonna explain
Yeah.
crap.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
So I guess we'll talk about what we want to do for next time. I was explaining this a little bit before the podcast, but just to recap for our listeners out there
Who weren't there.
Yes, who weren't there. The thought is that in 2 weeks we're going to do an episode on I have 2 series in mind. Anyone is willing to toss out another one if you have one that you've been really wanting to watch that's available online. But the 2 shows that I've been interested in recently are Steins Gate, which is a 2011 anime involving time travel. It's like critically acclaimed as one of like the best animes of 2011. Like a lot of people really loved it, and Matt's been watching it recently, and he's really enjoyed it. Says it's good. So that's like the critically acclaimed anime. That's supposed to have a really great story, maybe not the best action in it. And then the other one is an anime called Sword Art Online, which is apparently the most popular anime that came out in 2012. It's got a cool setting. It's basically like these players are thrust into this MMO world, like that's super realistic or whatever. But then it turns out that they're trapped there. Like the creator of the world has them trapped there. And if you die in the game, you die in real life. And the only way to escape is that if like one player manages to beat like all 100 floors of like this giant tower or something to that effect. And from what I've heard about it, I watched Giguk's review of it. Giguk is a YouTube anime reviewer that I really respect and enjoy his videos. He was basically saying that it's a fun show that has some really great action in it, and the story starts off pretty strongly. It's got a good premise. It does some cool things with the whole being in an online MMO thing. And people who like MMOs and video games, will probably enjoy that aspect of it. But apparently, as it goes, the characters become more and more cliche, and the plot sort of spirals from being good into being pretty mediocre. So it's sort of overrated, basically, as a show.
I've heard of it too, and I'd be kind of interested in watching that.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
I'm kind of hoping for Steins Gate personally.
Well, I would also say Steins Gate personally, just because I want to see a show with a better story.
We can discuss how bad it is. It's fun bashing things.
Well, I can see that too. I mean, so right now it's 2 Steins Gate, 3 Sword Art Online. Is that the vote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're doing Sword Art Online then. You can accept that, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yes. Look at it this way. You can look forward to bashing all the stupid things that it does.
Why do you guys always assume that I just like hating on everything?
I don't assume it. You enjoy praising things too when you really enjoy them. Like the Gurren Lagann episode, you were praising how awesome it was, or Jinro. You love Jinro, stuff like that. But when something sticks out as illogical or character, imbalance or out of, it doesn't belong there. Basically, you're one of the first to point it out.
Which isn't a bad thing.
I do it too.
But the main reason why I want to see this is even if it's not the greatest, I feel like I'm really going to like the MMO kind of part of it because I used to play a lot of MMOs, and obviously I play video games. So even if something happens where I'm like, okay, I don't really like that, I can still like enjoy it for the setting.
The setting
The
aspect
concept
of
sounds
it.
cool.
My friend recommended it to me, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So
if I recall correctly, I was checking on Hulu last time. I think it's got like 22 or 23 episodes online, and the whole thing is actually 25. I know for a fact that the site Crunchyroll, which streams anime just like Hulu does, they have all 25 episodes, so we might have to go to that site to watch it. But it's all legally available online. It's only in Japanese. There's no English dub for it yet, although I'm sure there will be. So 25 episode series will take 2 weeks to watch that. But in the meantime, I have this thought about something we can do next week that doesn't involve watching anything, so that way we can continue to watch Sword Art Online. Basically, I've had this thought for a while now about doing like a top 10 show where we basically, everyone, over this next week thinks in their brain and either just think of it in your head or write it down if you want to. Just sort of think of like, what are your top 10 favorite anime TV shows? What are your favorite top 10 anime movies? And we'll come together and basically have this big debate brawl where we sort of come out and decide, okay, like, we're going to vote and like, okay, this is the order, that we ranked like our top 10 anime TV shows and our top 10 movies, for the Shredded Cels podcast.
Honestly, I haven't seen enough anime movies, but I mean, I can definitely pick like 2 or 3 that I really like.
Yeah, I mean, I had enough to fill all 10 spots, but obviously, like, there's a whole bunch of things, that I've heard that are great, from other anime fans that I haven't seen.
What are you looking at?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I was staring at the fire alarm for some reason. I don't really know why.
It's a speaking thing. Sometimes when people make a speech, they like to pick a point on the wall and focus on it.
All hail the fire alarm.
But that's the accident.
But and I was sort of thinking how we might go about it is like, everybody has like in their head like what their favorites are. But I think everybody should come with like one TV show and one movie that like you really want to push for, like at least like as far as how I'm thinking of it, like I love Cowboy Bebop, but I know that like everybody loves Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop is one of the universally regarded as one of the best anime, and so I know for a fact that's going to be in the top 10 list. So I don't really have to worry about that. But then there's another show maybe that I personally like, but maybe some other people aren't as big of fans of it, but I really want to push for it.
Story of my life.
So I say that everybody come with like one movie and one TV show that they really want to push for, and like you'll stake your argument like, okay, this is the reasons why this show should be here, this movie because of this, and this. We'll have a debate and we'll vote, and whatever ones get the highest amounts of votes, we'll get in the list. So does that sound like a good idea for everyone?
Sounds
Yes.
awesome.
So gives everyone a little bit of homework to do over the week, but it also gives us
Jeremy is not a happy
there's
camper.
no shows to watch. Well, no extra shows to watch. It's just more Sword Art Online. So
Alex is making scary faces.
Alex, that's Jeremy making the scary
No,
faces.
I'm complaining to you about Jeremy making
Oh,
scary
I see.
faces.
Well, I can't stop him. He's a beast of his own nature.
I might have to expect you to go, Gollum.
All right. So sounds like we're in agreement on that. For those of you who enjoyed this podcast, you can email us at techheads@avwproductions.com. You can follow us on Twitter at techheadsou. I haven't done this in a while, but my Twitter is Darth Schmitz. Gretchen, do you have a Twitter?
I don't have a Twitter, but I have a Tumblr. Ailer Moon.
Ailer Moon?
Yes, AILLERMOON.
Nice. Jeremy, you have a Tumblr, don't you? No? Okay,
Why would
never
I have
mind.
a Tumblr?
I don't know.
Because it's the best.
I knew.
Tumblr's lovely.
No, thanks. I think I don't think I'll follow the most recent technology fad. I'm okay for right now.
And of course, it's infamous Jeremy's lack of a Twitter. We haven't brought up that joke in a while.
Please don't. It's you've beaten the dead horse until it's nothing but bone meal at this point. You can make glue out of it at this point, okay?
Hey, to be fair, it's been more like Matt and Mark have been more on the whole Twitter thing than I have.
Oh, that's not true.
When
I
was
think
the last
everyone
time I
knows.
said a word about it?
Well, it's been a while since you've said a
Right
word about
now.
it, but if you go back, like I re-listened to the old podcast. There are several times where I'll get to the end of the podcast, I'll mention Twitter,
yeah.
and you're like, "Wait, Jeremy, you mean you
As-
haven't done it yet? You have
as-
so many fans."
As of recently, I have not said a word.
Okay, I'll give you that. Clara,
My Twitter is at Clara Lillian, LILLIAN, and I have a Tumblr also as cheesecake-narwhal.
that's pretty nice. What about you, Mark?
I have a Twitter at mgoldsmith, MGOLSMITH, and then I also have a Tumblr, Zyphe, ZYPHE.tumblr.com.
I also have a Tumblr, but I've only used it twice, so I don't remember what it is, so don't bother following me on that.
I'll follow you right now.
You could also watch our content we have on, it's AVW Media on YouTube. All of our Tech Heads videos are there. You can go to avwproductions.com to read the AVW blog. You should also subscribe to our podcast feed in iTunes. give us some ratings, reviews. If you like Shredded Cels, give us some 5 stars. We like hearing about that. And if you don't like us, well, give us a 1 star and tell us why. We'll try to improve on what you didn't like. So thank you, everyone, for joining me for this very special episode of Shredded Cels. And we will see all you listeners out there next week.
Kiss.
Good night, everybody.
Why did it stop?
Kiss.
Why isn't it stop?
I was waiting for you to do that.
This product is copyright AVW Productions 2020.